Let's talk about these Niners and Seahawks, because I know you were looking forward to this game. And hey, the 49ers, you know what? Rightfully so, you wear their cap. I know the Seahawks fans are going to be saying, hey, why is Richard wearing the 49ers cap? But to the winner, go the spoils. And Richard, there's a lot to talk about in this game. Let's start Brock Purdy and his performance. What did you think about how he handled this game? 17-13, not your typical run and gun game that we would expect out of these foes, but the 49ers get the win, and it's important for them.
Mitchell, I was concerned. And I was concerned coming into this game. I thought it would go about how it went. My greatest concern being the health of the San Francisco 49ers and how it was on the edge of a knife. And of course, right on cue, George Kittle having a dominant first quarter, dominant first drive. Looks like, oh my God, he's another all-pro season loading, and it still probably will be. Then a hamstring injury takes him out. And you're like, oh my God. Okay, so without George, what are we going to do? And that was the big question. After that first touchdown drive, the team stalled in a big way. They leaned on Christian McCaffrey, who had a really, really phenomenal game. I think they said his 20, maybe 30, I forget what number, but game with 50 yards receiving and 50, maybe 41st, 50 yards kept receiving and 50 yards rushing, tying Marshall Faulk during his time. But I thought if they lose George Kittle, where are they going to go with the football? Ricky Pearsall had a solid game, had a really good game, actually. But you need other places to put the ball. Juwan Jennings caught 2 passes, had 5 targets, but also got banged up in the game. And I was thinking to myself, this is the scenario I think that helps the Seattle Seahawks pull this game out. That's the scenario in which I thought the Seattle Seahawks are walking away with the victory. They're at home. They got the crowd into it. Their defense played a phenomenal game, picked off Brock Purdy twice in this ball game. And after those 2 interceptions, my concern level for the way Brock Purdy was playing was really high because he was just trying to make a play for his team. When you don't have the weapons out there, you don't have guys separating, you're going to try to make happen with the guys that you have. And even the touchdown to Chonchus, I was holding my breath. I was holding my breath for both ways because Tariq Woolen, who I love to death, was standing right there in position to make a play in this game. I think that would have been the dagger that ended this game. That would have been the backbreaker. Tariq Woolen, back of the end zone. I thought when Brock Purdy sidearmed that thing to the back of the end zone, I thought, either he's throwing it away or this is a book. Like, this is going to be his 3rd pick of the day. And what happened was, it's one of those things, Mitchell, that you can't coach, and it's hard to explain to these to kids sometimes, the sense of urgency that it takes in the National Football League. When you want to be great, you have to, it's such a sense of urgency and a sense of desperation you got to play with. Like, when that ball's in the air, Mitchell, it's not like I'm going to wait for my food to get to my plate. I got to go hunt it. Mitchell, I can't wait for the ball to get to my hands. I'm on defense. He's not throwing the ball to me. I got to go get it. It's rarely going to be a time where somebody goes and jumps in front of me and grabs a book or grabs a pass in front of me. It probably has happened, but it's not because I'm not just desperate and scratching and clawing and doing everything I can to go get that ball. It's because they knew what was coming. They knew the play, et cetera, and they went downhill. In that play, you can't wait for it. You cannot wait for the football. And Tonches, went out there and grabbed the football. It was unfortunate. They had the double move late in the game. Ricky Pearsall it looked like a 7 pump, the same play I was talking about on Cam Hayward's podcast that Calvin Johnson ran, first play of the game when we played Detroit that year. 7 pump. And it looked like Tariq Woolen was in great position. He was in phenomenal position, and then he stuttered. And that's the point. He lost that rep. He looked like he just misjudged the ball a little bit. He took 2 stutter steps, and that was it. If he would have just kept his momentum, kept his stride going, I think he has a chance to book that football. I think he has a chance to pick that football off. So he could have picked that one. He could have picked the one in the end zone. And those are the little things. Those are When you talk about a game of inches in those critical moments, those are the plays. He had a great play earlier in the game on a touch in what appeared to be a touchdown on an out or 7 route to Ricky Pearsall, and he got it by a tip of his fingertips. Same corner I tipped the football with. It was a beautiful play. But you got to keep that up. And that's the growth of him as a player and for this defense, because I thought this defense, the Seattle Seahawks defense, played a phenomenal game. I thought the D-line was aggressive. They were assertive. DeMarcus Lawrence was all over the place. He showed his value. Ernest Jones with the interception, but also a ton of run stops. Tyrese Knight was all over the field. Kobe Bryant, huge stops. Julian Love blocks a field goal. Witherspoon was all over the place. Nick Ward went out with a knee injury early, but he looked like he was set for a good game. So you saw a lot of positive things from that defense. The concern is on the offensive side for the Seattle Seahawks, where it just seemed like they were a little bit too conservative. When they had to have it and they had to push the ball down the field, Sam Darnold let off a beautiful pass to JSN, to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Beautiful 41-yard gain, and that leaves you questioning, where was this earlier? Where were these explosive passes earlier? Why didn't you push the ball down the field earlier? And I know when you have a defensive head coach and you're a defensive team, you say, hey, we just don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to lose the game that way. But you also have to trust that, hey, all the work these guys have put in, they're going to get it done. And you got to lean on those guys. I thought that was a phenomenal play. I thought the real critical play for the Seattle Seahawks offense that I thought lost the game, and that it was the drive before the final drive of the game for them. And the play was the pass to Cooper Kupp on 3rd down, where it looked like he got knocked out of bounds, and it looked like he could have maybe reached the ball over and gotten it. And you see receivers do that all the time and gotten that 1st down. He didn't. It was 4th down and less than a yard. Those are the coaching decisions that make or break coaches. Like, hey, you could go for that and say, hey, they got stopped and man, that lost them the game. Or you go for that right there, and that's the decision that wins you the game. But when you're conservative and you go for 3, and then the other team turns around and goes down the field and scores a touchdown, then you come back and you drive the ball down the field, force fumble, and it doesn't go your way, then everybody second guesses that decision anyway and say, well, it was less than a yard. Your defense has been playing phenomenal. Why wouldn't you go for it there? At worst, you believe your defense can stop them. And in best case scenario, you get it. You get the first. You run the clock down to almost nothing, kick a field goal, and you win the game. So I think it's just a great learning experience, and that's how great teams are built. You learn from these moments. But on the opposite side, for the San Francisco 49ers, what a game. Welcome back, Robert Saleh. Welcome back, Robert Saleh. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful defensive game. The young guys learned. I mean, they had a bit of a rough first drive. A lot of the yards and success that the Seattle Seahawks had came on that first drive. They drove right down the field. Obviously, they had the help of a penalty, but so did the San Francisco 49ers in their first drive, but they didn't get the stop. They went to the sideline, made the necessary adjustments, and they got stops. Fred Warner was all over the field. D. Winters looked incredible. Great open field tackle on K9 in the open field multiple times. He was flying around. Singh was flying around. Diamador Lenore was throwing people over the pile, got a penalty, but he was setting a tone. And on the defensive line, you just seen everybody just being stout, doing their job, being where they're supposed to be, tackling how they're supposed to tackle. And Renardo Green, he gave up the 41-yarder to JSN, but I thought he played a solid game. Outside of that, I thought he tackled well. I thought Upton Stout did a good job for a rookie in his first time playing. He had that pass interference that pushed the ball to the 1-yard line on 4th down for the Seattle Seahawks. But I thought he played a really solid game, and I think this gave the fans for both teams a lot of confidence that their defenses are legit. Their coordinators, their schemes, their players are legit, and they made necessary plays. Both teams got a turnover. The San Francisco 49ers, Nicholas John Bosa. That's the difference between good and great teams is closers. And that's what any coach would tell you. You have to close out games. And Nicholas John Bosa is the closer. Mitchell, He back-to-back great plays in that game. I think he had a TFL to play before. The next play pushes Abe Lucas into the quarterback's lap, literally into Sam Darnold's arm. Ball pops out. He recovers it. Ball game. Seattle Seahawks were in scoring position, had all the momentum, all the control, and bang, game over. You need your big-time players to make big-time plays in big-time moments, and guess what? That is why they pay him the big bucks.
Well, this is why they call it the Sherman Bowl, Richard. You've done a lot of talking on this game, and I love it. We got to talk about Jake Moody. This kicking situation in 49er territory is dicey, to say the least. Jake Moody, all last year we talked about it, and he struggled immensely. And he was great at the University of Michigan. As much as I hate U of M, he was phenomenal. And Richard, it's like he comes to the NFL and forgets how to kick. He clanked one off the post, 27-yarder, and then gets another one blocked. At what point does the 49ers organization say, hey, enough's enough? There's enough good kickers in the free agent market that could probably do a hell of a lot better job than this kid. Your thoughts on Jake Moody? Because I know the 49ers fan base is wondering when enough is going to be enough.
This has to be it, Mitchell.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it before. I thought that in the preseason. I thought it last year. I always think it because it's not acceptable for the position. Like 76% for a kicker
Horrendous.
in the National Football League is horrible. That's a career. That's his career. He's a career 45 of 59, not including what happened today. So he'd be 46 of 62 if you included what happened today. And mind you, one of them got blocked, but that comes down to certain operation times, and everybody factors into that. But they got to block better. He got to kick better. But it's just an unacceptable thing. It's an unacceptable reality of the sport that you're a professional. It's like a quarterback throwing for 50%. Like eventually, you got to replace him, not because he's a bad person, not because you hate him, not because there's a standard that you expect. There's an expectation of the job. You got to be a pro. And kickers are held, they're a specialist. That's why they call them specialists. You have a special set of skills. Your special set of skills are kicking the ball through the uprights. And anything under 40 yards, you're expected to be perfect. Is that fair or not fair? I don't know. But that's what the expectation is in the National Football League. And most of the kickers in the National Football League under 40 yards are pretty much perfect. He's not, and he hasn't been. Under 40, he's almost perfect. He's, what is that? 16, 30. He's almost perfect. He's almost perfect. He's 20. Before today, he was 29 of 30. And then today he misses a clanker. I think it was, what was that, 28 yards, 38 yards?
27 yards.
27 yards. You can't have it. Like, those are things that your head coach should never go into a game thinking he has to go for it on fourth down because he doesn't think his kicker is gonna make the kick. If that's a mindset, if that's something that your head coach has to put in his subconscious, even under 40 yards, seems like they need to get somebody else to do the job, unfortunately. And I understand they used the third-round pick on him. I thought that was unnecessary. I don't think anybody was like, man, we got to get this guy. We're going to get him before the Niners get him. Like, I don't think you ever have to do that for a kicker. There are a lot of people with a great leg. Yeah, we're talking about guys that literally learned how to kick in the last couple years and are professional kickers right now. It's like the kicker for Jake for Detroit. What's his name?
Jake Bates.
Jake Bates. Wasn't he? Where was he working before he got the job?
He was working. He's plucking groceries, Richard. And then he goes to the USFL, and all of a sudden he's kicking the ball 60+ yards for field goals. This is what I'm talking about. I mean, we've talked about it off air 1,000 times. The kid from Hawaii walked off your university, Stanford University, your alma mater, Richard. And the kid you learned how to kick off of YouTube. And here we are in the NFL, and you're drafting Jake Moody in the 3rd round to have this level of acceptance. I'm calling it quits on him, and it's not because I'm a Sparty. It's just because I'm pragmatic. I mean, let's be real here. It's time. But Richard, let's before we move on from this game, I want to get your impressions on Sam Darnold. Obviously, this is a new territory for him, and he targeted JSN a lot. He was 16 of 23 for 150 yards. 124 of that went to JSN. Richard, this is not Minnesota. You don't have the plethora of weapons that you had there. You got Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, and a little bit older Cooper Kupp. I mean, what are your thoughts on Sam Darnold's first impression with the Seattle Seahawks?
I thought he did solid. I didn't think he made any egregious mistakes. I don't think he held the team back. I think there was a bit of a conservative notion in pushing him out there and pushing the ball down the field, which I don't understand. And I wanted to see him push the ball down the field more. They had success when he did it. But bringing in Cooper Kupp when you had JSN didn't seem like a great call to me initially because they're similar. They're similar. You want them in the slot. You want them to win on third down. You think those are the guys that they're going to win inside for you. And you can't target them both. You can't look at them both. You can't usually keep them both on the same side. So then it leads to what you had today where you're saying, hey, JSN is our guy. Cooper's obviously our two. But the plays that we would throw it to Cooper, JSN's running those plays. And so it kind of negates him in a way in all the things that make him special. It was similar to what happened to him in LA with the Rams. It's because Puka Nacua does those things. The things that made Cooper Kupp really special and thrive in all those slots and how great he is in short area quickness. They have somebody else to do that job and somebody else who they want to throw the ball to. So then you have to find something else for him to do. And he's not necessarily an outside receiver, an X that you just put out there one-on-one backside and expect him to win on go routes and comebacks. I'm sure he could do that, but that's not what he's done in this league. And so I think they're going to have to find another way to get him involved, another way to utilize him and JSN together, whether that's rotating him in or putting JSN on the outside and letting Cooper work on the inside or whatever the case may be. But he's going to need to be more productive than he was in this game, and he's going to need to be targeted more than he was in this game. If you're going to have the kind of offensive success that this offense is capable of, you're going to have to find a way. And this is why your concern level when you move a DK Metcalf goes up because he's a true X receiver, backside. Hey, one-on-one, we're throwing go routes, we're throwing hitches, we're throwing slants. Like, we know that's where we're going with the football. And when you don't have that, they can bracket JSN, they can cloud it, they can zone, they can 3 over 4 or 4 over 3 or 2 over 3, et cetera, et cetera. They can find a way to put more guys over JSN and over Cooper Kupp than you have. And so you can't just isolate him in the way that you could when you have a true X receiver on the backside. So I think this offense has a lot of room to grow. I think they executed their game plan solid versus a really talented defense with a few all-pros. And I think they're going to continue to learn and continue to elevate, and I look forward to seeing them next week.